Hi, welcome back to my kitchen. It is tomato preserving time. I had got a whole bunch of tomatoes from my garden, okay? Too many to eat within the next week, and too less to preserve in jars. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna preserve whatever I have in the freezer bags. Yeah, I'm gonna cut them up, put them in the freezer bags, and throw them in the freezer. And you know what? They're gonna last, even if I forget about them, because they end up at the bottom of the freezer, in case they do. They last up to 1 year. But I know that within the next maybe 2-3 months, I will use them. Anyways, I need to sharpen my knife because I cannot work with a dull knife. And this is needed to be sharpened for a while. So let's do that. Okay, so that's done. Now, we're gonna wash the tomatoes, okay? You can see what I'm doing here. You know, back in the day, I'm talking quite a while back, we used to buy tomatoes by the bushel. Okay, let's say this is when I was young, and my mom and dad, they used to make tomato sauce. So they used to buy, let's say, 10-15 bushels of tomatoes. And it was a whole big production. Okay, first of all, you would buy the tomatoes. They weren't fully ripe. So my dad would lay out a tarp in the garage. Yeah, he would lay out a tarp in the garage and spread the tomatoes out on the tarp. And they would sit there for about, let's say, a good week. And to ripen them up. And usually within the week, they were ready. Then what we would do is it would be like a whole day production. Then what we would do is pick up all the tomatoes, wash them, put them back in the bushels. Then bushel by bushel, my father would put them in another big pot and bring them to a boil. And once they were boiled, he would take them and we would spread them out on a table that he had set up outside in the backyard or the garage, depending where you had the room. And he would have them all spread out there. And then someone would come, and the tomatoes that didn't burst in the water, he would give them a little, with the knife he would cut them, or just pierce them. Okay, once they cooled down a little bit and that water from the pot drained, then we had this other machine. I don't know what you call it. It was an electric processor. I don't know. It crushed the tomatoes. What it did was you put the tomatoes in, the tomato sauce would come out one end, and the peel, it would take the peel off out on the other end. What a machine. Okay. And that's how you got your tomato sauce. Then the pail with the tomato sauce, my mom would put salt. I don't remember anything else, just putting salt. And then the jars would be all sterilized. We'd get the jars and have to put basil in all the jars. And then my mom and my aunt filled up the jars with the sauce. And then my dad would put the lid on. And then those jars, we'd have to put them back in a big bin filled with water and to boil. They would boil probably for about a good, excuse me, for a good 35, 40 minutes. Actually, you know what they would do? I just remembered. They would put a couple of potatoes on the top of this big bin with all the jars in it. They put a couple of potatoes on the top. Once the potatoes were cooked, we knew that everything else was ready. And that's how they sealed the jars. And that was it. And then he would just, don't put any more wood underneath to make fire. And they would just have cool down on their own. Usually the next day, they would take the jars out of that bin and just wash them off and put them away. And we had tomato sauce for the whole year, because those jars would last us till the next tomato season. So that's what we used to do. I carried on that tradition for a while, and I did that with my dad. My mom passed away back in 2007, so I continued doing that with my dad. Obviously, we didn't do 10, 15 bushels back, but we were down to about maybe 6, 7 bushels. Anyways, a few years back, I decided, you know what? There's so many nice sauces out now in the supermarkets that I don't need to go through all this. So I stopped making my own sauce. It's been, I want to say a good 5, 6 years now. Okay, maybe 7. But I don't know. I'm feeling the urge. I'm feeling the urge that I want to go back to that tradition, because homemade sauce is unbeatable. Okay? Unbeatable. Yeah, it's just the best. Anyways, for this year, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tomatoes that we grew in our garden, and I'm going to preserve these. So how I'm going to preserve these is by cutting them all up. Okay, I got my board here. Let me put you a little further back so you can see. And my freezer bags. So I'm going to cut these, I'm going to cube, well, I don't know if I want to cube them. I think cutting them in quarters just like this, or even just in half. Yeah. Just in half. Quarters, halves, however. Or if you want, you could even cube them. Okay, so we got some here going. We're gonna put them in the freezer bags. I can put a few more in there. So now what I'm gonna do with these is once I'm gonna throw them in the freezer, I'm gonna flatten this out and throw them in the freezer. Then when I need tomatoes in the dead of winter, when they cost an arm and a leg at the supermarket, or when I just feel like making a nice fresh tomato sauce with my own tomatoes, I'm just gonna take this freezer bag out and I can make sauce with these tomatoes. I could make a stew. I can throw them in a soup. However, and that's it. I'm gonna flatten this out. You know what, I can put 2 more in here. Yeah. Try to take out as much air as possible. And that's it. And I'm gonna keep them flat and throw them in the freezer. Just like that. So I got enough here to make about 2 or 3 bags probably. And that's it. We're gonna have fresh tomatoes in the month of December. Thank you for joining me. Keep coming back. Okay, so we got 3 bags ready. 3 bags for the freezer. That's 3 dinners. Actually, that's even more than, that's probably more than 3 dinners, because each one of these bags, depending on what I'm making, I could even divide them in half. Thank you for tuning in. Come back anytime.